Yeah, my name is j.werth, and today I want to inspire you using the phyBOARD Pollux kit to kickstart your AI project. And first I want to talk about the phyBOARD Pollux AI kit specs regarding artificial intelligence. Afterwards, I'll talk a bit about what we can do to help you to boost your AI project, and then later we want to talk a bit about our AI partners. So if you bought the phyBOARD Pollux AI kit, you will receive this beauty, where the NXP Plus is actually on this module embedded, and then we have the phytech camera, which is included in the kit. I will not talk in detail about the specs, which are listed here on the side a bit, but just go to our website and you will receive some information there. I rather want to talk about now what the 2.3 TOPS, which is included in the NPU unit, the non-processing unit on the phyBOARD Pollux, can do regarding artificial intelligence. Let's look at some inference times. We tested 3 different models: the ResNet-50, the MobileNet V1, and the MobileNet V2, all with the input image size of 224 times 224. So super standard, super basic, that you will find in any benchmark test around. So you can see that the ResNet-50 has around 17 milliseconds, while the MobileNet V1 and V2 has around 7 milliseconds. That translates to 60 frames per second up to 140 frames per second. But don't make a mistake, they're really the pure inference times. There's no image preprocessing, etc. in there, because most likely your project might have different aspects regarding image preprocessing. And also quite often asked, can we use also several models here? Yes, you can. You can run several models in sequence, so it will automatically switch between the models if you loaded them, and the switching time is below 1 millisecond, so it should not bother too much. And if you want to run a model in parallel, I suggest that you actually combine your models manually into one model and then run it. And now let's take a look at the power consumption. So we have two, we looked at that first at the CPU and then at the NPU cases. So we have different CPU load cases. First with the suspense mode is 240 milliwatts. Then if you're looking at the idle mode, we have 1.8 watts. And if you have a full load with memtest, etc., we have 3 watts. If you now look at the NPU unit, we have, in the first case, 2.6 watts, meaning there's just one instance of your program running. If you have several instances running, up to, I think, 4 or 5 you run here, you can see that it's completely filled and it goes up to 3.5 watts. But the classic case would be case 1, where you have just one instance for your program running with, 1 or 2 or 3 or so many models you want to. And this will lead to 2.6 watts. But be aware, these are just preliminary values, alpha BSP values, not optimized. I already have seen lower power consumption values, but these are the official alpha BSP values. Maybe now let's look at the temperature range. You can see that the temperature is actually following, of course, the power consumption quite well, normally. And if you look at the CPU, there's a maximum of 70 degrees Celsius, while for the NPU, for the case 1, the classic case, we have 60 degrees Celsius, and for the full load is 75 degrees Celsius. But remember, this is without any cooling at all, no passive, no active cooling. Room temperature of 25 degrees, and we know this opening a window makes already a difference. So any cooling will drastically change these values. Maybe now let's talk about how we can help you actually with your AI project, because we noticed that a lot of companies, especially mid-sized companies, kind of don't know where to start. What's the first step? What's the second step, etc. And therefore we offer actually workshops. It's a whole day of just AI from A to Z, and there's something for the management, like what's an AI project, but also for the developers, like what are the parameters, how to tune them, which tools to use, etc. But of course, if you're already one step further, we can also tailor a workshop just for your specific case and help you there. But if you say this is a bit too much, if you start from scratch, it will take much too long for us. We can also, of course, set you up with one of our AI partners, and they can just deliver a complete AI solution to you with us as the hardware partner. And maybe you just go on parallel, you get the AI software, the complete solution from one of our AI partners, and then in the meantime, you train also your employees, and then at some point they can take over the maintenance, for example, of the AI models. And Finally, let's talk about our AI partners. So last time actually we showed some demos on the phyBOARD product from our side, and this time I thought it's much more interesting if our AI partners would show what they put on the phyBOARD Pollux AI kit, and then I will talk a bit more in detail what's the focus of each of our AI partners. Let's start in alphabetical order, and that will be then InContext Technology, or InTech for short, as a starter. InTech unfortunately could not send a demo file in time, but don't worry, we'll just show it next time. Yeah, InContext Technology is located in Heidelberg, beautiful city, and they're really an innovative company. They have a lot of collaborations, research facilities, and incubators, making them work on the cutting edge of AI here. But as all of our AI partners are actually focusing more on the real-world applications and implementation of AI instead of then theoretical concepts. So a good example, therefore, would be their latest big project with the French railway system SNCF, which is predictive maintenance for tunnel systems and the trains themselves. And here the focus mostly using classic sensor types like accelerations, temperature, moisture, CO2 levels, etc. And this in combination with AI on the edge and IoT technology, meaning, for example, that you calculate the results where the data is generated with the sensor types and then sending them at a depot station, for example, to a server to be further analyzed. Really interesting. Also using a digital twin approach that, for example, for a production line, they could create a digital twin and then try and optimize in this digital twin and then apply it later in the real world to make it happen. Another interesting part is here also their smart cloud application, or smart monitoring cloud. The idea is here that you can connect the smart monitoring cloud to any known service like Azure, AWS, etc., whatever you are using, but then also integrate the data, do the pre-processing, the analysis, model fitting, etc., all in one, and having a solution out of the box. Yeah, InContext Technology hereby focus actually on 3 different areas, and that would be industrial buildings, where they're looking for safety regulations, etc., and helping you to keep them, workers safeguarded. Then also they're looking into production lines with the use of digital twin, for example, to optimize production lines. And then latest, and maybe the most important part for InContext, is actually the logistic parts. As I already mentioned, they work together with the SNCF and others, looking for predictive maintenance in train, railway stations, etc. But everything which is moving is interesting for InContext. Yeah, really interesting, and I'm looking forward to continue this great partnership with InContext. Yeah, now let's talk about the next AI partner, which would be Nordic Forge. Nordic Forge is also located in Germany, Bavaria, and they are Bayreuth actually. And yeah, Nordic Forge, it's a really interesting company, which is of course focusing on AI capabilities. But before we're talking about a bit more about the company itself, let's take a look at the demo they provided. It's a very interesting concept. Yeah, in this demo, Nordic Forge focused on the concept of retrofitting, which is really interesting. Retrofitting means that you might have a machine in your machinery park which is not smart because maybe it's an old machine. Nordic Forge used here a 3D printer, which normally doesn't come with AI capabilities. So, and the idea is here that you have, for example, to check on the quality of the produced items. Normally, a worker would have to go there and check manually if the production went well or not. And here, Nordic Forge used an AI system to determine the quality of the produced device. This is the concept of retrofitting, like adding, for example, in this case, the phyBOARD Pollux to a machine with a camera and using then the input of the video camera to determine the quality of what you're seeing. And the idea behind this is, instead of buying new machineries, which might be very expensive for you to just use just to make it a bit more smart, for example, you can just attach the system to a machine and make it smart and saving you a lot of cost by not rebuying the machine. Yeah, Nordic Forge, thanks a lot. That's a really nice demo. And now maybe let's talk a bit more about the company Nordic Forge, what they else are doing. Yeah, now let's look into the background a bit of Nordic Forge. So Nordic Forge is a German company, as I mentioned beforehand, and they are looking into AI research and industrial research, and here they're focusing mostly on manufacturing industry. Most of their customers are actually mid-sized companies, and they told us that they noticed that a lot of mid-sized companies kind of afraid of the kind of catch-up AI game they have to play, and kind of afraid to losing that. So Nordic Forge is here to help. They're doing actually consulting and also development in-house here in Germany, made in Germany. And also very important, the data stays in-house, meaning your data is your data, your models are your models. Nothing is sent somewhere in the cloud. They have their own cloud ecosystem. So it's also, everything is quite confined. But of course, they also have different applications. So we saw AI retrofitting, but they do also like AI edge and mobile development in general. And of course, AI steered quality control, which we have seen, and predictive maintenance in general. Anyone working in AI would confirm that data is data. Now we saw actually a video analysis, because this is for us nice to understand and nice to show, but actually any type of sensor is supported from Nordic Forge. So with any kind of AI problem, you can come to them. Yeah, that was Nordic Forge. Let's look at the next AI partner, Nabobi Nometri. Nometri is also a company in Germany. They're located in Berlin. And they also provided us a very interesting demo. Let's take a look. Yeah, and as you can see, Nometri also provided a vision application demo, and it's all about smart shopping carts. So they attach a phyBOARD Pollux and a camera to a shopping cart to make it smart. Yeah, as you can see, a hand is detected as a hand, and an item is detected as an item. And if you move it around, you can see that it's also tracking the movement. Yeah, that's all happening in 30 FPS, and it's completely autonomous on an embedded system. So if you put the item down in the shopping cart, it's of course counted as +1. And if you put another item down, it's added to the list. Now you can have the whole system segmented. So because the shopping cart itself is detected automatically and then segmented. And if you put something out again of your shopping cart, then it's of course detracted from the list. But the interesting part about the segmentation is that you can also move items. So it's detecting the location of the item itself as well. So if you move your milk or something around, it will not count double, but just get a new place. That is really interesting. So as you can see here now, of course, you can also detect several hands, several items at the same time. So if there's multiple people putting something in, it will be counted and put on your item list. Yeah, very impressive demo. Thanks a lot, Nometri. Now let's look a bit more in depth into the company's profile. Yeah, Nometri has at the moment 14 employees. Congrats to that. And they focus mostly on AI on the edge, embedded AI, and industrial-grade DevOps. They created their own application software, mostly focusing here on C++, because in the image domain, you can speed up actually artificial neural networks significantly with using C++, but also can be beneficial if you work close with the industry. Nometri supports you, of course, the whole pipeline from data acquisition, annotation, etc., modeling, back to or up to the server backend. And you don't have to worry, as with all our German partners, your data is actually very protected with the German law, so you don't have to worry about your data being spread around. Your data is safe with us. Nometri is focusing at the moment at the retail sector, but as I said before, data is data, and any problem you will throw at Nometri or any other partner will be solved most easily, I guess. Wonderful. Thank you, Nometri. Yeah, I hope you got some ideas and inspiration to kickstart your AI project. And yeah, we have the phyBOARD Pollux AI kit, which you can order just now to get started. And of course, we will help you and facilitate you on the way with, for example, workshops to help you guiding the way. If we come together in a project, the workshops are actually free of charge. If you want to cut down time to market, of course, we can arrange a triangle maybe with one of our AI partners and us then as the embedded developers and you as the subject matter experts. I'm looking forward talking to you and thanks a lot for listening. Yeah, take care.